with a great deal of reluctance that we postponed this season to next year, but it was a must. And you might remember back already in the spring, we gave a concert, a virtual concert. It was the culminating concert of our Class Act program. Do you know that that program was seen in 48 countries, 46 different states, and that the average time that people stayed on was about 42 minutes? That meant almost the whole concert. And it was seen by thousands of people literally all over the world. So it was a marvelous experience. And then we did our 4th of July program. Some of you might have seen that. Same thing. The kind of outreach that we're getting through this virtual life that we've had to adopt, or it's adopted us, I'm not sure which is what, but it's just been really, really amazing. And so right away, in the summer, I had an inkling that we were going to not be able to have musicians together performing. You know, we talked about phase 2 and phase 3, 8 musicians, no, 10, maybe 15. And then it ended up that we couldn't reach an agreement with protocols because of all of the reasons that you know, from the governor on down to the musicians union, to the center, who is completely closed. You know, so it was really heartbreaking. So I began to think about what we can do. So I began to look at archival materials, concerts. You know, when you see the big screen above, that you see the iMac, especially with pianos. You know, we have pianos so that everybody gets to see the keyboard and the pianist, regardless of where you're sitting in the hall. So I thought, well, let's feature the piano. And we were to have the Naughton, Michelle and Christina Naughton. They were to open our season with Mozart. So I said, well, let's just do a concert that features piano. We have 2 beautiful Hamburg Steinway pianos at the gracious gift of Michel Rouet. And so that's the way it all happened. And this first concert is featuring just pianists, 6 different pianists. I mean, I've never been able to give an opening concert with 6 different soloists, literally from all over the world. And 3 works that the orchestra themselves, we just do by ourselves. So it's just an amazing thing that our staff has gone from a concert producing to a virtual concert production team, you know, and literally lickety split. And so I'm no longer a concert producer, concert performer. I'm a concert producer. I look at video capturings and I decide what pieces, and then of course they're going to all 4 winter offerings, or I should say fall offerings, are going to be shown on PBS SoCal, which is great for us. I mean, that's a big deal. But they also add a few limitations, like, well, it can't be longer than 56 minutes and 48 seconds. I mean, that's specific. And so all the pieces that were selected had to go into a specific little box. Okay, not more than this. Now, Carl, you have 28 seconds to say what this next thing you're going to say is. And that's it. If you go over 28 seconds, we're going to be in trouble at the end of the concert. So it was like a jigsaw puzzle, but I really felt like we were producing a TV show more than we were producing an opening night concert. But the concert for opening night is slightly different, because there we're going to have an intermission. We're going to have Maria Hall Brown is going to be our host. You're going to see most of what you're going to see if you watch the PBS special, but more. So the Naughton sisters, Christina and Michelle, on the TV of the PBS only play 1 piece. But for us, they're going to play 2 different works. We had to make the rueful decision that Alain Lefebvre's beautiful encore of Le Grand Carnival is not going to get on the TV show, but it's going to be on our opening night. So there were all of these kinds of jugglings that we have, but it starts with Dvorak's Carnival Overture, which is just a spectacular work. And by Dvorak, it's about a 9 to 10 minute exciting overture. And as I say in my comments, if you didn't miss, or if you don't miss the Pacific Symphony yet, after seeing this on the screen and hearing the virtuosity of our players, you certainly will after that. And then it goes immediately to the introduction of Michelle and Christina, who are performing from their home in Wisconsin. They live in New York, but they've been isolating in Wisconsin with their family, as a lot of people have. And so they're back home in Wisconsin. They're playing two works. They're a piano duo, incredible. I encourage you to go on YouTube and just look at their stuff. It's great. And they're delightful. And then we go back to a work that features just the orchestra, which is a work that was originally written for piano by Maurice Ravel. As you probably know, most of his works were originally written for piano, and then he orchestrated it. And this is one of those works. We did it in February, early February, when we played the concert out at McCallum, and then in our concert hall 4 times. It's called Le Tombeau de Couperin. It's a little group of pieces that's dedicated to François Couperin, and the last movement is called Rigadoon. And in 1919, he made an orchestration for a small orchestra. So that's on there. And then the next thing is we talk about Beethoven, because I don't really feel that any concert featuring the piano would be complete without at least one work by Beethoven. So Louis Lortie, who is an internationally renowned pianist, is in Brussels right now. And so he went to a studio, and on a beautiful Bösendorfer piano, which we don't get to hear very often in America, it's more often played, this make of piano is more often played in Europe. He plays the first movement of the Moonlight Sonata. As you well know, that's the beautiful adagio that you hear very often. And I must say, it's when I first got the tape, and I had to immediately call him on WhatsApp and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's just a beautiful gem. And then we go immediately into the first movement of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, which the orchestra just sounds so powerful and so alive. And then we go back to another work of Beethoven. So there are 3 works of Beethoven. It's the second movement to Beethoven's 4th piano concerto. And this is crucial because it's not only is it played by Andre Watts, who is a dear friend of ours and who has performed with us many, many times, but there was a little short concert on the 22nd of December in 1808. It was an all Beethoven program that Beethoven put together with only 1 day of rehearsal that day. And then the concert was later that afternoon. It's in a church. It's in a theater in Vienna. And I don't know if you've been to Vienna in the wintertime, like around December 22nd, but it's bitter cold. As they say in German, saukalt. And it's just amazing that a musician could even play anything. The pieces of that concert are the Fifth Symphony, the Sixth Symphony. Well, I'll just do it in order. Sixth Symphony, A Perfido, which is an aria that's about 13 minutes, 2 sections from his Mass, and the 4th piano concerto that Beethoven played. Then there's an intermission. Then comes the Fifth Symphony, another section of the Mass, and then what most people came to hear, which is Beethoven improvising on the piano. And then it finished with a work for chorus, piano, orchestra, and soloists called the Choral Fantasy, which we opened this past season with. All in one concert. But the importance of this is that was the final time Beethoven played in public one of his concertos. Because by that time in 1808, he had already gone quite deaf. So this is the second movement, and I must say the profundity of Andre Watts' performance is just amazing. Of course, he's in Bloomington, Indiana. And then we go to Olga Kern. Olga has opened our season. She's been with us many, many times. You might remember her performances of Paganini's Rachmaninoff's Rhapsody on Theme of Paganini, or a second or a third piano concerto. She's amazing, and she's a dear friend. And I must say, with all of these artists, I have a very special, and so do the musicians, have a very special, musical, spiritual almost relationship. So I have a little chat with her. I think that when she was on the chat, she was in Prague, I think. She had just come from a concert in Sweden, and she was on her way back to Moscow, where she's been staying during the pandemic with her mother and her son. And so we have a little chit chat, and then she talks about her family's relationship with Rachmaninoff, and that her grandmother was a mezzo soprano, and Rachmaninoff used to play the piano to accompany her at vocal recitals. And so she plays a little 3-minute moment musical. It's a little encore piece, and then just a few more words, and then she plays the final variations of the Paganini, Rhapsody theme of Paganini of Rachmaninoff, and that's the end of the concert. And so we have all these guest artists from literally, and when Alain plays, he's in Athens, Greece. You know, so I mean, this has been a kind of, and I will tell you, it's a lot of effort. Will Pruitt, Paul Harkins, Eileen, me, we have spent more time on this concert than almost anything other than the operas that we do. That's very time intensive, but I think you're going to love it. I know that you're going to be able to enjoy seating in the safety and the comfort of your own home or someone else's home or a backyard dinner party, you know, sipping your favorite libation, whether it's a wine or a coffee or a tea or whatever. But it's going to be a marvelous opening, and certainly one of the most unique openings in the 42-year history of the orchestra. So that was a long answer. So you better be careful what kind of questions you ask, because I will go off. Because as you might be, I know it seems like I haven't talked to anybody in like years. You know, it's like I came out of a cave and I see people that I know and I just start talking and I just want to leap inside the screen and just give you all a virtual hug or a hug. But it's going to be a great opening, really is. And with the concert that you're going to see on Saturday, John Evans, the chairman of the board, John Forsythe's going to talk. There's going to be a live auction. There's going to be a fund to dream. There's going to be a lot more bells and whistles and things that are more interactive than the concert that I just described, which is primarily for a TV audience. That was quite restricted. And I must say that they did a great job in helping guide us on what kind of things they wanted. Southland Escapes, this is a series. The LA Philharmonic had 4, and now we're starting our 4. So anyway, that's what's coming up on Saturday. Now we're going to give 4 of these. The second one, we're hoping that by then we can actually have some people on, well, maybe not on a stage, but someplace playing music with me so that it could be recorded virtually, but at least in real time, in this time. And then put, not something from the year 2016 or 2017 or 19, but something. But as of right now, today, we can't. We can't do that, not yet. And we're hoping that, I mean, Eileen and our team have been working with musicians and a team of experts from UCI and the center to agree on some safety protocols. The idea of an audience is still down the road, sorry. But I know many of you are ready to come back right now, tonight. I'm there on Saturday. But we're going to have to bide our time just a bit longer, but it'll happen for sure. We're optimistic about that. But that second concert is going to feature the violin and hopefully musicians in real time performing works. And I've done a lot of research to find works for different ensemble sizes. So if they say, Carl, you can only have 15 people, then I've got a whole list of works that we can choose from. If they say you can have 9 people, but none of them can play wind instruments or brass instruments, then I know what the string repertoire is. So there are all these things that I'm ready to choose and select, but I can't right now because I don't know my parameters. But hopefully they will involve live musicians. That concert will feature Dennis Kim, of course, our concertmaster, and Akiko Meyer, who closed our season in 2018, and Philip Quint. You might remember Philip did a beautiful Vivaldi 4 Seasons with us 3 seasons ago. There's going to be a part of that. And he's done a one-man show about Charlie Chaplin, which is, you can go on YouTube and see this. It's really great. So we're going to have him play 1 or 2 of the songs, one of those beautiful songs like Smile or Love Song or, Fallen Star, some of these great songs that Charlie Chaplin, I mean, he was a great composer. My God, what beautiful music he wrote. If you don't know the music of Charlie Chaplin, you got to go and look up Philip Quint, because he's done there's a beautiful a beautiful song called Smile. You know it. If you heard one with a duo that he did with Joshua Bell that you should listen to. The third concert is going to honor heroes, frontline workers, all the people that have been risking their lives, and also veterans, because that particular concert is in November and will actually air on PBS on Veterans Day, November 11th. And the third concert, as we creep closer to Beethoven's actual 250th birthday, I know we've been celebrating it for 2 seasons now, but it's actually coming up. That's going to happen in December, and that will feature the last movement of Beethoven's Ninth, which we did in a Plaza cast a few years back, which was beautifully captured, both on the Plaza and in the concert hall. But it's not going to just be about Beethoven. It's going to be more about mankind, and that we should really heed Beethoven's not request, but demand that alle Menschen werden Brüder, which means, you know, mankind should become brothers. We need to think about one another. And so that's also going to feature a string work by George Walker called Lyric for Strings, which was written in honor of Martin Luther King, and other pieces like that. And then there are 2 more in the fall and in the winter. One is going to be about nature, and one is going to be about heroic, like mythical creatures. So, and then we're also going to do 2 youth concerts, you know, not just classical concerts, 2 youth concerts. Hopefully one is in around Halloween time. A virtual Halloween concert seemed quite natural, since the young people and maybe a few of us adults won't be able to parade around town and on the various streets with costumes. And also a Nutcracker. Believe it or not, there is an arrangement of a Nutcracker that fits into a screen, and also screen life, which means about an hour, and a very small ensemble. And hopefully by December we can have a small ensemble actually playing it. So, and then we're trying to do 2 Pops concerts. So, I mean, we're really busy. I know it seems like we're silent, we're not doing anything, but I will tell you, the staff is scrambling. We have never been busier. Our new assistant conductor, Jacob Seseda, he's coming in town. He's arriving sometime before the October 1. He's going to be helping me. And of course, he's been working with the education team and with Eileen to put these concerts together. So though we're not together in the same room, we're really still a very tight-knit, efficient team. So that's the fall.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we're so excited for all of the different programming and going into this new and different season. And so right now we're going to open this time up for questions. So if you'd like, you can unmute yourself and go right ahead and ask Carl.
I'm here. I'm an open book. There's nothing that I'm afraid to talk about.
Maestro, nice to see you. We're so
Hi,
close.
Scott. I hope you had good holidays.
We did. Thank you. So as we do a virtual concert, I was thinking, from your perspective, what should we listen for and look for and experience in a different way from our big screen, or if we can shoot it over our Apple TV, than we would as a live experience? What are you hoping audiences take in differently?
You know, it's interesting because on Monday mornings, some musicians gather at 11 o'clock. They just tune in every Monday at 11, come and go as you please. And it's just keeping in touch. And I'm very often stopping by for a part of it. And one comment that really surprised me and kind of took me by, like a realization, came from Chris Colgard. Chris Colgard is in the double bass section. And he goes, because if you go to our website, you can see Beethoven 7, you can see Beethoven 5, you can see our mosaic, you can see Symphony Fantastique, a couple of sections. They said, in watching the videos, I never thought about the look of intensity, the look of dedication, the absolute in the moment kind of expressions that I see on my colleagues' faces. It's just, I'm in the bass section, way in the back. I don't see anybody's face. Maybe yours, Carl, or maybe the concert masters, but then everybody else is way across the room. I never see like Tim Landauer when he was 27 years. One of the cellists in his section says, you know, I played for him most of those 27 years and I never got to see the look of absolute intense music making that he had when he performed. All I saw was his scroll of his cello, maybe his head, maybe his bow. Just, I'm gonna tell you, I'm impressed with my colleagues.
Nice.
I've never had this vantage point. And also because I'm in the cello section or in the back in the horn or trumpet section, I'm pretty much just focusing on my section, maybe just my sound, how it's fitting in. So to get back and to hear the orchestra in this fashion has been a real treat. I mean, and one of them even said, we sound good, you know, we sound really good. And I says, yeah, I know. So the perspective that I have, and some of you as audience members, you're just seeing a portion and not very close up. So, you know, some of the camera shots are like right on somebody's fingers as they're playing, or Barry Perkins sitting there, or, you know, a trombone section where you're literally right on top of them. You're going to get a perspective of the orchestra, not only sonically. I mean, sonically, I will say it's going to be better in the hall. There's nothing, you can't capture that with microphones. I'm sorry. You're just not going to be able to. That we are so blessed to have such a great hall. But you're going to get to see the orchestra in a fashion. And I will tell you something, we're learning like mountains. We just got recently we just got a very, very, very generous 6-figure grant to help us from Janet Kirchie to help us upgrade our video and our abilities to capture these concerts, because we now know how important they are in our lives. And we wish, like our Alpine Symphony, or our Ein Heldenleben, or when Anna Kiko-Meyer came and played, you know, Sigan or something like this, we now realize, wow, we really wish we could have had better equipment, and we really wish we could have captured it more authentically, with more creativeness with cameras and the number of cameras and the shots and all of those things. So we've learned a lot about the importance. And so that's going to be a part of our life, even when we do come back to Concerto. But I think the one thing you're going to get is a perspective of your orchestra that you probably won't get sitting in your seat, regardless of how good the seat is. So that would be so enjoy the concert, the music, of course. And I know if you've got an Apple TV or a smart TV that you can hook it up to your big screen. You don't have to watch it on, you know, the computer. So,
Yes.
And I'm sure that if you need help, that the symphony can help you get that hooked up. I had to ask my son. He knew how to, like that. Oh, you just run this and push this. Da, da, da. Got it. It's okay. 3 minutes and it was done.
Great. Thank you.
Good question, though. Thank you, Scott. Say hello to Leslie.
Thank you.
I have a question. Well, question and a little bit more maybe. I have a bell choir, and my bell choir is quite nice to me. They got me this T-shirt.
13/8.
Good. So
I love it. 13/8. I'll have to see if I don't think I've ever conducted a piece in 13/8.
I wouldn't want to try.
That would be that would be kind of awkward. Yes.
Right. But we have 6 people and we record in the church right now. We've been doing that for a couple of weeks, and it's, you know, really kind of weird, but you get to see, you know, the final product, which goes out on the air. We get to see what we look like and hear what everyone's doing. The same thing your people are finding.
Yep. And in a church that's not filled with people, I bet you it resonates a little better.
It's kind of dead sound. It's a big volume, so we don't really fill it too well. So, yeah, only 6 of us, and me waving my hand.
There you go. Hey, it's music.
It's music.
I have a question. May I ask?
Hi, Roslyn.
Hi, so good to see you.
Nice to see you doing.
And I have really enjoyed everything you've put out. I have had this request for years. In fact, I asked you when we first became subscribers for this piece to be performed. And I'm thinking now with the possibility of when we can get back into the hall or perform in some capacity, whether reduced size pieces like Richard Strauss's Metamorphosen for 13 soloists, or the Zuck or the Dvorak Divertimenti would be perfect small pieces for small ensembles, and people aren't familiar with them. The Metamorphosen is never played.
Well, she's referring to a string work by Richard Strauss.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's Metamorphosen for 23 solo strings, and it's very, very profound and deep. As a matter of fact, he uses as its main theme, or one of its themes, the funeral march that Beethoven uses. From the second movement of the Third Symphony, the Eroica, which we were supposed to, do this season in October. So it's a very profound work, and of course it's almost always on my list. And of course, both serenades of Dvorak, the one for strings and the one for cello and bass and winds, they're great. And there's so many of these kinds of works. The one thing I had to do, Rosalind, was to convince myself that it's okay to play portions of pieces. In normal concert life, that's sort of forbidden. If you don't play the whole, the whole Dvorak serenade or the whole symphony, then you shouldn't be messing with it. You shouldn't just, unless it's a family concert or a children's concert. But because we have so much time, such a stringent time limitation, I talked to several colleagues around the country, and we all decided that if we're going to play the first movement of a symphony or the last movement of a symphony in this pandemic restricted time, that it's okay. So the problem with the Metamorphosen is that it's a fairly long piece.
Yeah.
And so and also, as beautiful as it is, it's less successful when you're not hearing it live and watching the string players play it. In other words, when you're in its ambient space, it's profoundly moving. And you're right, it rarely gets performed. As a matter of fact, I've conducted it once, and I've only heard one other performance of it, and it was with Kurt Masur with the New York Philharmonic, and it was the first half of the concert, and guess what was the second half of the concert? The Eroica. Yeah, of course, the Eroica. It's very often paired with the Eroica. But these are great.
Do it in the LA Phil back in 2000, when they opened the season, first couple of years.
Yeah, it's
last time.
If you don't know this work, it's beautiful. It's all slow moving. It's very lush. It's a beautiful work of Richard Strauss, and I must say marks quite a departure from his operatic works or even his tone poems. But it's more in the vein of his four last songs.
Yeah.
And that kind of depth of intention, I should say.
Might you consider programming it though, at some point when we get back?
Absolutely.
Right. Wonderful. I'll die happy. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
Significant though.
Yeah, very. You're
Right.
absolutely right. Someone else? Linda, did you have a question?
I did. Have you ever considered a collaboration with Greg McGillivray, who lives in Laguna Beach as we do, and to work on some kind of a video collaboration with him or his son, Sean, maybe in the natural world or something like that?
Greg and I are good friends. When we could, we would either meet at the Orange Inn or at a Zinc Cafe, because they live right downtown, and he and his wife walk through town. So very often we would find ourselves having coffee in the same restaurant. As a matter of fact, when we did the Alpine Symphony for the last time, we actually collaborated with Greg. And because it was the 100th anniversary of national parks. And so instead of going up an Alp, when we got to, let's say, the pasture, he worked it in so that we would have pictures of pasture land or in a park. Or when we got to a glacier, there was a glacier from one of our nation's national parks. So we've actually done something like that with Greg. And it's one of those things that did not get captured properly. So it's completely lost. In other words, the visuals weren't captured correctly. The sound wasn't right. So it's unusable because the quality isn't good enough. And it's one of the things that I really feel bad about, because that in itself would make a perfect, because the piece is about 55 minutes and it would make a perfect, one of these virtual concerts with visuals, and it could have been edited so beautifully. But you might have remembered when our Ellis Island broadcast again on July 3rd this past summer, the day before the 4th of July. You can see how beautifully that was captured.
That's great.
But that's a truck with 25 cameras and a big guy sitting in there looking at a board, selecting, and then taken to a place with editings. It was as you know, it was a very, very expensive endeavor. But we need to improve, and we will, now that with this grant that we have, this gift, and just realizing how important these things are. So I love everything that Greg does. We're so happy that he lives here, and it's. Do you know Greg McGillivray?
Yes.
Some of you, his things that he's done about. Well, he's done so many of these IMAC deals. IMAX about bears and rainforest and the ocean, and our national park. That was the last one I think that he did. Nice man. Another thought, question, comment, any of the above.
I know another comment or a question that one of our donors submitted was, so what are your personal dreams emerging after basically all of this is kind of somewhat over and we're able to resume naturally? What are some of your programming dreams?
Well, I was really sad that something like Mahler 8 had to be canceled. This is a really important work, and it was going to cap off, my 3-decade tenure here, that kind of thing. But that kind of piece is probably not going to be programmable in the near future. It's just too expensive, too many people, and those kinds of mega works might have to stay on a shelf for a bit longer, because I think it would be almost disrespectful and certainly not very prudent to do a work which is so expensive just coming out of the pandemic. But I think we do need to realize that programming works which are meaningful to a lot of people. There's a lot of talk about diversity, inclusion, equality, women composers, women artists, BIPOC composers from underrepresented communities. That's going to have to be a part of our continued life. We've already started this. Look at our NCAF, what we've done with the Chinese American community, the Korean community, the Vietnamese community, our Nowruz program with our Persian, the programs that we have for our Latinx communities. We need to continue and to expand that. To be more inclusive to all communities and everybody that lives in Orange County. So that's going to be a focus of mine, and I know a focus of the symphonies. We really feel that's to be more inclusive and to be included in the lives of more people as their orchestra in Orange County. So that's going to be part of it. The other thing is, I really do feel that when we are able to, and I'll use this word, reunify it's going to be a moment that probably hasn't happened since Bernstein conducted the reunification concert on Christmas Day, 1989, after the fall of the Berlin Wall. That kind of jubilation is what's going to happen. And there's going to be at that moment a real revelation about the purpose of this music in everyone's life, the meaningfulness of the symphony in everyone's life and in the life of our community. And I think there's going to be certainly a deeper appreciation, respect, and love for the arts of all kinds and for the symphony. So, I mean, this is my hope and my dream, is that through the pandemic, we will have had enough time to reflect. It's what I'm spending a lot of time doing, is reflecting, being thankful for those things that we have, being thankful for the people and the teachers and everyone that I've learned from, reaching out to those people, those that are still with us. Seiji Ozawa, my mentor and teacher, and I was his assistant for 4 years and studied with him at Tanglewood. He turned 85 September 1st. He's literally the only one of my mentors that's still with us. So I keep in touch with him through his wife, Fura, and through his daughter, Sarah. And so I think when we all reflect on what the meaning of the symphony is, I think it's going to really deepen our relationship with one another and with the art form and with our symphony.
So we'll probably maybe end with one last question if anyone wants to ask during this
Ellen,
time.
did you have a question? I saw Ellen having a question.
Hi, we're outdoors at Irvine Spectrum. This is OCTA's Bike to Work Week, and as most people are not biking to work these days, OCTA provided alternate activities, and such as bike during lunch, and coincidentally today is bike for coffee, or maybe it's not coincidental. I don't know, but that's where we biked. My question is, will we ever have, in Orange County, will we ever have a new music series like the Green Umbrella series in the LA Phil provides?
It's always on our mind. You know, we tried a concert similar to that in Santa Ana at a kind of an alternate space. As you know, alternate spaces for those kinds of programs oftentimes adds to its attractiveness. From about 1980 to 1986, I was the music director, curator, conductor, artistic director of a contemporary music ensemble called Contemporary Directions. And so this is something it's very close to my heart. It was something as a professor at the University of Michigan, this was one of my real loves. And this is where I met so many composers, from Elliott Carter to Philip Glass to Bill Balcom to, I mean, the list goes on. And so this would be very attractive to us and to me. And it's certainly something that we've talked about. We've actually looked at other alternate spaces, and maybe it even moves around. It's certainly not out of the question. But as you might remember, we used to have the American Composers Forum and the American Composers Festival, and it was once a year. It was on our subscription concert. And unfortunately, not everybody gravitates to music of our time and composers that are still taking inhalations and exhalations. And so we'll have to find a niche audience for that. We'll also have to realize that it's not going to draw billions of people, but it costs the same. As a matter of fact, rehearsals for those pieces, it's not like playing a Mozart symphony that we all know and have in our ear. It's very often very, very rehearsal intensive. But it's certainly something that it certainly could be, I could see it being a unique offering to the symphony, as we talk very often about having a Baroque series, you know, and we're talking about having an organ series at Christ Cathedral, you know, with the new, I mean, so we talk about many things. And of course, during the pandemic, we're talking about everything from, as you can see on our website, members of our orchestra who live up in Long Beach. I don't think Long Beach has ever had that much music in their lives before. I mean, they have music on every block and people's backyards and parking lots and everywhere. And so even continuing something like that could be of intrigue. And of course, you know, when we think about the symphony's offerings, very often we're so driven by ticket sales and how much money it brings in, because everything we do is, almost everything we do is a losing proposition, you know? So the fewer concerts we do, the less money we actually lose, the actual, but of course, that's not why we do anything. But we're talking about drive-in concerts during the pandemic. I know that you might be aware of some of those that have happened down in San Diego, where there's a gentleman I can't remember his name, who's actually doing some of these in the big parking lot at the Orange County Fair, the Orange County Fairgrounds. And, you know, they get like a cap of like 100 cars. And if you're in the front 4 rows, you pay this amount. If you're in the back rows, you know, there's no going to the restrooms, there's no getting out, there's none of this, there's none of that. And everybody tunes into a particular radio station, a radio frequency, I guess is the better term. So listen, if it's doable, we're talking about it. I can't make any promises, but I will tell you there's nothing that's not on the table at the moment. Thank you for your question. And if you have further interest in this, make sure you write to, you write to John Forsythe. Now that I know that you're interested, make sure you make that known to us, because it only takes 2 or 3 people lighting a fire under somebody. And I'm sorry for that metaphor, especially with what's going on around our state. But, you know, just a couple of little catalyst comments can really be helpful.
Thank you.
I mean, just look at our Cafe Ludwig, you know, our chamber music program. I mean, that thing is unbelievable and so popular. And it's now a part, like opera, it's part of our DNA. It's part of our fabric of who the Pacific Symphony is. And I mean, we had, for those of you that might be new to the symphony, we had 2 failed attempts before this with a chamber music program. One started at the Bowers Museum and one was at the Barclay. And it just didn't, because we were doing it for the wrong reasons and perhaps in the wrong place. Nothing wrong with the Bowers Museum, of course. It's a great institution. We're so happy that it's in Orange County, but or the Barclay. But the point was, it didn't work. But with Cafe Ludwig and with the MCs and the pianists and our players, it really has caught on. And I know many of you that I see on the screen are big supporters of that series, and I'm very happy for that.
Thank you so much, Carl. We definitely appreciate you being here and just sharing your.
Is it over already?
I know.
No,
45 minutes already up.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to stay an extra couple of minutes. I don't want to take your time. I want to be, or do you have a meeting after that? Bill, do you have a meeting?
No.
Okay.
I'm happy to stay on until 11. A couple more minutes if you want, or if you don't, if you need to check out 11:45, it won't hurt my feelings. I promise.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, if anyone else has any more questions that they'd like to just personally ask Carl during this time too.
Carl, I've got a question. How are our musicians dealing with all this? I know they love to play for the audience.
Listen, it's our musicians, but it's every musician.
Yeah.
They are frightened.
Mm.
They are scared. They are stressed. And I say that without coloring it at all. The uncertainty of everything. You can imagine, you know, I used to play every week or every night for 90 days in a row or 2 months in a row, and I haven't played in the last 5 months.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife asked me the other day, Carl, did you ever imagine that you would be, you know, several months without ever conducting an orchestra anywhere in the world? And I said, never. And somebody Jim Self, who's our tuba player, in one of our Monday morning things, he goes, Carl, now when we do get back, you're not going to be listening too carefully, are you? I mean, some of us might be a little out of shape. And I said to Jim, I said, if you don't judge the accuracy of my downbeat, because I too have been have not been on a podium, he says, we won't judge one another. If you don't judge me, I'm not going to judge you either. But people are just frightened. And of course, we've got younger musicians. Let's take Michael Francis, our principal bass. He came here in January. February, we're shut down. And he played 2 or 3 concerts with us. And he moved here just to be the principal bass. He's one of the ones on the Block by Block, that group. He's the double bass player if you go to our website. I mean, and he's just starting his career. This is his first major job. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have people my age who, and a lot of orchestra musicians across the country just said, okay, I'm retiring. It's too indignant. What's going on right now is too indignant. And I didn't spend a 45-year career to have this be my end. I'm not going to do that. Not going to play for a camera with a mask 6 feet away from somebody. I don't need it. Thank you. I'm out. I'm going to retire honorably.
No.
And so there's everything in between that. And some people are breadwinners for not just themselves, but families and kids going to school and college and rent and mortgage and they're on unemployment. And we paid our musicians through Nikki or Lorraine, if I'm wrong about this, through the middle of September, I think. I think it just finished, and we're now in negotiations with them, of course, to see how we can move forward, because we want to keep all of our musicians. Do you realize what it would? I mean, it's not even possible, because that group of musicians are a family. They're kinetically connected, spiritually, emotionally, dedicated to the same purposes, the same missions. To replace them not only probably would be impossible, but incredibly costly. Do you realize that orchestra that sits on that stage now has been developing for 42 years?
Yeah.
Never been better. The quality of the musicians, the dedicated, yes, throughout the 42-year history, the musicians of the Pacific Symphony have been dedicated. They have been talented. I'm not denigrating anybody that came before, but every audition, we're getting a higher quality from a larger regional area, from international players, I mean, and as you can see with Meredith and Dennis, I mean, nothing. Yeah, are you kidding? Raymond Kober was a consummate concertmaster. But, we didn't lose a step, when Dennis came. And it's different, not better, not worse, but the symphony itself didn't take one step back because, oh my gosh. And the same thing, I mean, rest in peace, dear Tim. We love Tim Landauer. I love Tim. When I see the videos when you watch the concert, you're going to see Tim Landauer playing. You're going to see Raymond Kober playing, Steve Edelman playing, Russell Dicey playing. These are all colleagues that we've lost. But Warren Haggerty, I mean, he has, with great humility and a great sensitivity to the chair that he sits in right now, has stepped into that place in the orchestra's life at a very, very emotionally wrought time, and has done an incredible job. And he's as dedicated. And we fully went into that audition. Nobody felt we're going to find somebody tonight.
Yeah.
We're not going to find anybody. That was our general sense. There's no way anybody's going to come into this audition and even give us a feeling or a sense that they could possibly feel those shoes. So we're very fortunate. We're very, very, very fortunate. Sorry, I sound like, somebody asked me the other night what my first musical remembrances were. And I pulled up this picture and I showed, it was the Pacific Chorale. I had a wonderful meeting, and it's this place right here. That's the Hoheim Baptist Church. So if I sound like I'm preaching sometimes, it's because I had a good dose of that until I got out of high school. And it's an important part of my life. But anyway, when I get to talking about the symphony, man, I don't come up for air very often. I hope you don't mind. Linda, you had another question.
Is there a fund established just for the musicians to give them some financial security?
I must say the board, many of you are family members, the generosity of the Pacific Symphony family, if you will, which is all encompassing, has been overwhelming. Overwhelming. People have stepped forward, realizing exactly what you just said, that our musicians are hurting. Here's what can I do? Here's what I can do. Please take this offering. I know it. I would like for it to be more. And Nikki and Gregory and that whole team, you guys have just been doing, and Gary have just been doing such a great job keeping in touch, and just keeping communication with all of you. And I've never been in more contact with more people with regards to the symphony than I have in the last 5 months. So I don't know, Nikki, is there a particular fund for it? You would have to answer that question. I know there is a future, Sound Future is one of those, it's called Sound Future. If you go to our website, you can see it. Nikki, you want to just answer Linda's question a little bit?
Sound Future is an important part of what we're focusing on right now, definitely, and that certainly it deals with all parts of the symphony, because what we're really driven to do is to make sure the symphony has the resources to get through this period and to survive and to thrive, because we want to be able to take Carl's vision and let him do what he does so well to make Pacific Symphony the most wonderful orchestra in the country. And we're so grateful to you, Carl, so deeply grateful.
Well, and I'm grateful to everybody. I mean, it's, sadly, we've had to furlough some of our staff members that because of what their actions are within the, there's certain things that we just don't do anymore, because we're not able to go on a stage or show up. So regretfully, we've had to reduce the staff in various ways to be, to be truthful. I mean, just to make it work. And as you well know, John Forsythe and I have both, right from day one, have agreed to take major salary cuts as well, and we continue to do that. He and I are completely in unison with this, that we want to show everybody that everybody's pitching in every way we possibly can.
Well, if I can throw a little commercial in for governing members, we just kicked off our first event in February when Michael Francis conducted the Paganini in end of February, and that was the last time we got together as governing members. And even with that, and Michael, you can correct me, governing members have increased 28 people, something like that, Mike. Yep. Even during the pandemic, we have good people like you that support the Pacific Symphony and donate and contribute. So we really want to thank those people that are here and the new governing members.
Absolutely. And I know if John Forsythe and John Evans, if we were on this call together, they would be joining me in applauding and thanking each and every one of you for all that you're doing to, as Nikki say, just to keep us alive, and so that when we come out of this pandemic, that we're not so crippled that we can't start running right away again. That's really the goal right now, that whenever the doors open, that we can charge out, not that we've been hurt so badly that we don't even know if we can take a next step. We don't want to have to go through orchestral rehab to get this thing back going, so that's really our initial goal, is that we're not asking for the sky or And certainly the things that we're talking about are being handled and dealt with in the most financially efficient way possible. I mean, we're on a skeleton, you know, kind of a bare bones budget right now as it goes, doing everything possible.
And for everyone who loves Carl and loves the musician, again, anything that anyone can do to help right now at this difficult time, we appreciate so much. We're all a family, and we're so grateful for you being with us today and for everything you do. So thank you.
Absolutely.
For sharing your thoughts with all of us, Carl, and just of course thank you everyone again for just our governing members for being here as well. So Carl, if you have any last words, and then we'll end.
Well, I just want to, on behalf of governing members, I want to thank all the governing members who joined us today, and especially Carl. This is the third one I've been involved with. You did Ben Smolin's interview very well, and you did an interview with the Board of Counselors recently. So it's been great, and just love to have your input and your sensitivity for the symphony and the donors.
Well, I mean, the most important thing is that we stay connected, that we stay arm in arm, heart in heart, hand in hand, in whatever way we possibly can, whether that's through written communication or, you know, virtual communication, to let everybody know that, yes, we're okay. You know, I remember being I was in my former life, I was a scuba diver, and I used to love doing things like dive in caves, which is ridiculously stupid, I know, but I remember looking at my partner, and it was always, are you okay? I'm okay. Are you okay? Constantly checking in. I'm okay. Are you okay? I'm okay. And so this is one of the real, just absolute pearls of these kinds of talks, is that it's just to see your smiling faces and to hear your delving questions, and to just have the chance to let you know, we're going to get through this. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be more resilient. I sent somebody something, and I'll just read it to you because I sent it yesterday, and ooh, Carl, come on. Pardon me if I don't. It says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and through character, we can have hope. And so I will tell you that your staff, the Pacific Symphony musicians, are persevering. And they're showing what character and what dedication they have to you, to us, to our community, and to the art form, and to their God-given talents. And because of that, we have some real, honest-to-God hope that we're going to get through this just fine. So thanks for your help. Thanks for inviting me this morning. And Bill, thanks for for inviting me. It's great to see all of you. Be safe. Be safe and be well, and stay in touch. And Bill, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. Call on me. I'm here.
I appreciate it, Carl. We all appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.